Farm for Profit Podcast. Take a listen, have a blast. Farm for Profit Podcast. Learn about farming while having a laugh. Farm for Profit Podcast.
You gonna try and kickstart that? Oh, there it is. Oh, mercy. That's good. Well, listeners, welcome back to the Farm for Profit Podcast. You've got Tanner here.
Corey's here.
And David is definitely here today.
Nice. Look at us all kicking off the new year with some new content and excited to make some new friends. Of course, we appreciate all of our old friends and listeners. We appreciate the audience that you have helped us build. Got a text this morning that was asking questions about the show that came out today. And before I got to respond back to them, they'd already found their own answer. So how capable is our audience?
Very capable. It's always nice when they do that.
But how can they text us, Corey?
515-207-9640 is the text line, or you can leave us a voicemail. We always love getting those.
Ooh, I've got one that we should play here that I texted back, and I was wrong with what I heard, so I need to get your opinion as to what they said. So we'll play that one on a future show.
Now
here.
I'm curious.
Yes, exactly. Follow us on all of our social platforms, right? Because if TikTok goes away, we've got many ways to connect
TikTok's
with you.
not going away.
You don't think so?
No, not at all.
Okay.
We need it to elect the next president, you know? So.
That's right. That's right. Podcast platforms are powerful.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Even can affect elections. But our interview for today is not someone from the U.S., not even somebody from where they currently reside. So it'd be interesting to see how long it takes for you to guess through her accent.
Now you have me intrigued.
Well, I just am all these cliffhangers, making everybody wait for everything that we've put together. But we thank you, listeners, again, for all that you do. Continue to send us ideas and connections, just like the ones we've gotten so far. So nonetheless, that's about enough of them hearing us. We are excited to meet our guest today. Amy, welcome to the podcast.
Hi. Nice to be here.
Well, that's not enough. She didn't say enough.
No, she didn't.
Got the
Happy New Year.
brand for those that are watching online too. I like the WK Inside H.
That is cool. What does that stand for?
That's our ranch brand. That's Waikikahay Ranch.
Okay. She's giving a couple more hints.
Yeah, that was close.
This is how you really know that the guys don't look at the outlines before you dive into an episode, because otherwise Corey would already have the answers to the question. So, Amy, why don't you start off by introducing yourself, and if Corey can come up with it, he'll just shout it out where he thinks you're from.
Don't
do we get a guess?
give it away.
Oh, that might help you.
My name is Amy. I'm a first-generation rancher. Get it yet? No. And
Yeah, I think Hawaii. You think she's from Hawaii? She's not from Hawaii.
It sounds like a Canadian accent, but Hawaii is what I guessed.
Canadian accent? No. I'm from Scotland.
Oh, there it is.
I live in Canada, but the name of the ranch is actually Maori. My husband's from New Zealand.
Mm.
So you weren't totally wrong. You were catching the Canadian little twinge.
Mannerism.
Yeah. There we go.
That's funny. So that is wow. New Zealand, Scotland, and Canada. That's a trio that's not normally normal.
Nope.
Well,
What province?
I'm in BC.
You're in BC.
I
British
am.
Columbia. Fair enough.
Canada is literally it's halfway between Scotland and New Zealand, and finger in a map. That's why we're here.
Hey, listeners and friends, thanks for listening to the Farm for Profit podcast and enjoying our content. But it's time for us to find out more about our audience. If you wouldn't mind heading over to farmforprofit.com at the top of the page and take our survey to give us a little background on who you are and what we can be doing better as far as content goes. Everybody that takes the survey will be entered into the opportunity to win $100. So we look forward to getting your feedback. Again, head over to farmforprofit.com, click that survey link at the top of the website, and we thank you in advance for your feedback.
Finger
True
on
story.
a map.
In it's halfway between New Zealand and Scotland. It's in the middle. So nobody has preferential treatment.
She really isn't close to her in-laws. Yeah.
No.
You both cost equally in as much when you have to go back home. That's how that goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Good skiing in BC. Go to
Really?
Whistler,
Yes.
Whistler back home. Get to see the
Yeah.
ocean and be on the mountains. Dual ski resort. It's the kind.
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
That'd be kinda
We do a
cool.
lot of
I need to
skiing and
learn to ski.
snowboarding. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to take these guys skiing. We're going to go out to the old Commodity Classic and do a little.
I saw a baby snowboarding the other day on TikTok.
Yeah.
Some guy was just like holding it up while it snowboarded.
That's how you got to learn.
Mhm.
Nobody did that for me.
Dave, are you going to hold Corey up on it?
I'll hold Corey up. Yeah.
All right, let's let Amy get into what she's doing. So now you're in British Columbia, and obviously you've got a diverse heritage that we'll dive into a little bit more. But what are you running right now as a business?
Two things. So we have our ranch. We do. We're a direct to consumer, so we only sell beef. Like we don't do auction. So we're a grass finished beef ranch, but just for a direct to consumer market. So that's this. That's one hat. The other hat is I developed a program, if you like, to teach other farmers and ranchers how to start selling direct to consumer.
And that's what you're going to help our listeners do today.
Yes.
At least we're going to try and give them a couple of insights to get them pointed in the right direction.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's so many free tools out there that if you learn to utilize them correctly, it just opens up a whole new world of customers for you.
So before we dive into that process, why don't you tell us more about your ranch and what you've got going on?
So we're first generation. So it's my husband's maybe got a little bit more farming background. I have zero. We're both engineers. My history or both our backgrounds is the maritime industry. So he was chief engineer on like the big boats, and I designed satellite communication equipment for oil rigs and ships and the military, etc. And that's how we met. So nothing to do with farming at all, but it was always kind of a dream. And the first night we met, he told me that his dream was to have a ranch in Montana and to raise Wagyu beef. And we're not in Montana, but we're pretty close. And that's basically, yeah. So it was like a conscious decision to kind of leave the rat race and leave what we were doing and focus on family and raising beef. And that's what we did. So that's what we do now. Yeah.
Is that how you landed your wife? Did you promise her a ranch in Montana?
She wanted a Montana cowboy, and I said, well, I'm from Montana, but I'm not necessarily a cowboy, but we can make it work.
I'm still just I'm intrigued by this finger on a map situation. Like, okay, obviously you went to the spot in the middle, but wouldn't it have been just a little bit easier to slide it a little bit more south into Montana, where it's just a little bit warmer in the United States? Or did you just feel like Canada was the place to go?
Canada was kind of where we almost moved to the States. We almost did, but I don't know if I can even say this. Your insurance, your medical insurance is insane. And when we were looking to move, because I was of childbearing age, I couldn't get medical insurance because it was almost like a given. So if we ever had kids, they wouldn't insure us for like 4 years. So it was like, or it would cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars to have a kid. So it was like, let's go to Canada. We just couldn't get insurance to go to the States.
Well, now you can come to the States.
Are you saying I'm no longer of childbearing age?
Yeah, you caught me on that one. That's probably could have been worded a lot more friendly. What you asked, Dave?
How many people in the States don't have insurance that just have kids all the time? Yeah. I mean, the government, I guess, takes care of them nonetheless, but I never thought about decision making to move to the States.
You know, it's interesting. We've kind of had this feeling that it's not a great system at times, and especially, you know, what was it when Obama was in presidency and then called Obamacare and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, you can hear people talk about it, but then when you hear a case like this of someone that literally was looking to move somewhere and had a choice, I mean, can't argue with that, right?
Yep.
Like, it would have cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to literally move, you know, several hours south. So
But aren't your taxes in Canada, don't you guys pay like 40-50% like income tax on your income?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm wrong.
Every province is different, but it's tiered. So it's like free to a certain amount, and then the next tier is say 20%, and then the next tier is 30%. So if you're in a higher tier, you only pay that higher bracket for that
Oh,
tier,
I see.
not for
Okay.
your whole salary.
All of it.
I gotcha.
I don't mind that structure.
No.
That seems to make more sense. Like your first 35,000 is free, and then everything from 35 to 75 is this rate.
Yep.
Yeah, because
75 and above.
if it wasn't like that, people would literally go, I'm not going to do this last job
Right.
and get that last 30 grand because it'll kick me back to taxes all the way back to zero. That makes sense to just do it above.
So as you said, you and your spouse have engineering backgrounds.
We do.
Especially as far as that goes. Why sell direct to consumer, or when did that come about?
It was his dream was to have a ranch, and I used to be a vegetarian very long time ago, but more because I didn't agree with how animals destined for our plates were treated. But if my dad or brother shot a pheasant, I'd happily pluck it and eat it because it was like flying around. One bad day, it's on my plate, as opposed to, like factory farming, commercial farming. Bear in mind, I was like 20, 19, whatever. So when we kind of started discussing things, it was giving people, we're going back to 2005 when we were speaking about this. It was giving people that option of, you want to eat meat, but you don't want to eat that meat. You want to know where it comes from. So we built this around that we wanted to give people a conscientious and ethical food choice. And now more and more people are like, there's that farm to fork movement is huge. Like there's the statistics that are readily available are for the States, but out of the something like 2 million farms in the USA, only 7% sell direct to consumer. Yet the farm to fork movement, the people who want to buy direct from the farm, is huge and growing. There's actually not enough farms to supply that demand.
I'm curious, like, how do two engineers say, all right, we're going to start a farm, like, let's go buy some cows?
Yep.
Like, how do you know what kind of cows to buy, and how do you not buy dairy steers instead of beef cattle, and then get the land to support the cattle, and like all those decisions that go with it, and do we need creep feeders, and how do we do it? Like that, there's a lot of learning curve there.
Mm-hmm. There is. So when we lived, we moved here. So the ranch I'm sat in now is 5 hours away from where we started in near Vancouver. So we had 5 or 6 acres. And we literally went to the auction and bought 4 Hereford steers, finished them, sold them. So we advertised. So it was to kind of test the market, and we kept one for ourselves. We advertised the rest, to see if this was a viable option. And it was. Like, we almost got to the point where people would knock on the door going, I heard you had beef for sale. And we're like, we're all out. It was like this backdoor beef sales.
Like a drug cartel.
Yeah, exactly. But it worked. So we did end up keeping on. So on our 6 acres, we actually ended up with a herd of like 23 head of cattle, but we leased 2 10-acre grazing around us. So we were able to graze them, from May through to October, and then bring them home and feed them haylage, etc.
Wow. I just like how they just went and bought 4 Hereford steers. This is what we're going after.
So are you still growing Hereford?
No, we don't. So our we do Wagyu. So Wagyu is our kind of main breeding stock. So we have our full blood Wagyu, and then we also have our F1s and F2s. So our crossbreed is Highlands and Galloways.
Do you have any miniature cattle? Because that's what I think of when I hear Highland.
So there's not. I'm sure I'll get yelled at this. There's no such thing as miniature cattle. It's a dwarf gene. Like, people just breed for it, but it's not a breed. Like, I don't know. Miniature cattle, no.
They look so cuddly, though.
So they do look cuddly.
when you're now doing your crossbreeds, obviously you've learned and chosen that crossbreed for a reason. Like you said, that you do have your purebred Wagyu, but is there a meat quality that you're getting out of the genetic crosses?
Yeah, so our F1s is just our standard beef, but it has that buttery flavor of Wagyu. And even though we don't feed any grain, it's beautifully marbled. You can cut it with a fork. Galloways are slightly faster growing than Highlands. Highlands in Scotland, a Highland cow is actually considered a premium breed. They're very slow in growing, so you can't really process them until at least 36 months. So they're always going to be in OTM. But that slow growth lays itself to this beautiful, thick marbling. Like it's not being pounded with grain for 18 months and then sent to harvest. It's grown slowly. So they're more expensive than Angus. Like if you want to order like a prime rib or something, Highland is like a premium beef. For our model, they're a little bit too slow growing, so we're moving away from Highlands. But we chose them because they suit our environment. Like it's rugged, it's mountainous, it's extreme cold, extreme heat, that they do really well. They thrive. So it's less input for the same output, if that makes sense.
Now, does your area, the topography also dictate this no grain ration, or is that a distinct choice you've made?
That's a distinct choice. We're a regenerative ranch. So we really follow regenerative agricultural practices, and we host clinics here for regenerative ag. I will caveat with saying I am system or feed agnostic, that we need a place for all farming. This is just our choice, and it's not something that I would force on anyone else. But for us, it works really well. So we don't feed any grain, but we do plant our pastures with a really diverse forage crop. So our fields are full of brassicas, so like radishes and turnips, alfalfas, clovers, different grasses, sunflowers, even pea oats and barley that they forage on in the grass form, but we don't feed any additional grain.
So they're getting some grain. They're just foraging it themselves, type of a deal. Like
it's a forage grain crop. Yeah, we just don't feed. We don't strip it off and feed them anything. But they've got very diverse.
Consumers think grass-fed, grass-finished is just this cow out on a grass pasture. That they see on the side of the interstate is probably what they think of, but it's not really.
No,
all the time. Yeah.
We put ours out on range, and on range they eat everything. Like they're eating leaves and shrubs and berries and bark. Yeah. We've even caught them chewing on antlers for like the nutrients. Like they eat everything. So we just try and emulate that when they're back at home as well.
I just think of logistics, like whether you believe that that's a healthier or better tasting or whatever, but like the fact that you don't have to handle tons of grain and pay for it or farm it and harvest it.
Yeah.
Like, it makes sense, even if it does take a little bit longer, right? Like as far as the business wise goes.
A little bit longer.
So you guys know our friend Huey Be Cool.
Yep.
He's always got business ideas, and he was talking to me about selling direct to consumer the other day. He wants to start this and was asking me. We have cattle at my house as well. We don't sell direct to consumer, and so he was asking, what does it take to get started and whatnot? You said you rented 20 acres and you had 6 acres of your own. So you had about 26 acres and you had 6 head that you kind of started with. To me, that doesn't add up to dollars. That's enough to feed a whole family and
for a living wage.
For a living wage. How much did it, like, where are you at now? Where are you at now? Like how many head, if I can ask, what's it take to make a living at this if you're going to do direct to consumer?
It's an open-ended question, though. It's a hard question to answer. Like I get asked this a lot online, but it's like, well, what do you need to make a living? Do you need 50K a year? Do you need 100K a year? So it's really hard to answer. When we had the acreage at the coast, we were both working full time. So it wasn't our sole income. It was supplemental. But it got to the point where that enabled us to move and make it our sole income. So we don't work. Selling beef is all we do.
She almost said they don't work. Almost.
Well, now you're well, and I was leading into the next. Now you're teaching people to sell beef, so you must have some analytics of, if I'm going to teach you how to sell beef, that's my next question. How do we sell beef?
So if you want to do it full time, you have to know your numbers. Like you have to know, well, I need to make 50K a year to pay my mortgage, to buy groceries, correct. Have some fun money. So then you have to work it backwards. So are you going to make 50K a year on 6 acres? Probably not. Unless you're buying, selling, which you could do. You could go to the auction, buy cattle, finish it, sell it, but that's hard work. You might only need 50 acres. But then the other variables are you growing your own feed? Are you harvesting your own feed? Or are you buying feed in? Because if you have 50 acres and you're growing your own feed, you might only be able to hold 5 pairs. Whereas if it's all for grazing and you're bringing in your feed, you could have 50 pairs. So, I mean, there's so many variables there that whoever is wanting to start this needs to know the route they want to go and then plan accordingly.
So your program, though, adapts itself to, it sounds like, many different styles.
Yes, very much so. And as I said before, I'm pretty much finish agnostic, that you can do grain finish, you can have a feedlot, you can do grass-fed and finish, you can do whatever. You can do chicken, pork, lamb, bison. It works for anything, but the main thing is beef.
So let's kind of step into what somebody can get out of working with you, or how you start providing value to someone that signs up.
So one of the formats is social media. Like every man and his dog is on a phone. Like you guys have your phones there. Like people are always scrolling. You can be waiting at Starbucks for a coffee, or you could be standing at the bus and you're using your time to scroll. Correct? Yep. Or you're a guy and you're on the toilet and you're using your time to scroll.
That feels like a targeted comment.
Wow. Up here in Canada, it's Tim Hortons, isn't it? Not Starbucks.
I know. I'm no good. So that is where your customers are. So the first thing I teach is you got to have a social media presence, and it's not for posting pictures of your youngest at a dance recital. It's targeted. So your social media is that widest point of the funnel where you're going to find all your customers. That algorithm that runs Meta, it works in your favor. So if you're posting things like, for example, save money on groceries, buy a quarter beef, then the algorithm is going to show you your post to people who are looking for things like groceries or vouchers or, things like that. That's how the algorithm works. So what you post can actually find you customers. It's not just to post buy my beef, it's to post your whole story. So then we take you through those steps of social media is free, and it is the most powerful funnel you have, regardless of it. If you want to pay for ads, you still need to test that first in social media. And then the next stage is pricing. And it literally is, we walk you through everything you need. So this would answer your previous question, is where you need your pricing to be and what you need to make this work for you. And it goes through everything. It goes through cash flow, revenue, gross profit, net profit, operation costs. The one thing that I find a lot of farmers fall into when they want to start this is that they don't look at that beef operation or that direct to consumer beef operation as an entity by itself. So say, for example, they're a cow calf and they take their calves to auction. They don't think that, well, I've kept 10% back. That 10% needs to carry 10% of my operating costs. Otherwise, it's never going to pencil out. Like, you shouldn't subsidize one with the other, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, we've been doing that for as old as time. Farmers not the
Rob Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah, where it should be, or supplementing. Well, I've got this off-farm job, so I can continue to lose money farming, or
Yeah,
we're good at that.
so it kind of really does teach them that, like, if you're keeping 10% back, then that needs to carry 10% of your operating costs, so that your true net is literally after dog food's been paid and after 10% of the mortgage has been paid. And, like it has to carry that to be profitable. So it takes you through all those cost codes. Like you might have logging that you want to do, and that should, that adds in too. So it's a pretty in-depth pricing structure.
Amy, what I'm hearing is you have a way to show customers how to market their product probably really good, or an education program that does that. Do you teach them how to, say, buy cattle at the auction?
No. I mean, there's like a coaching aspect where people ask all kinds of things. Like we get asked, what crop should I plant, or how much fertilizer should I buy? And that's not what the course is designed for, but there's enough expertise inside that those kind of things can get answered. But the Sell Beef Direct motto, if you like, is empowering farmers. So if you want to start selling direct, these are the tools that you need to make that successful for you.
I know. Go ahead. I was just going to ask a stupid question of, have you ever told someone, you might just be better off just buying your beef instead of trying to raise it?
As in buying it from the store, or buying it from the sales barn?
You. Like, you might as well just buy it from me and let me do it.
No, never. No.
We had a guest sitting right over there that said, I don't have an interesting story. And how often do you come across people that reach out to you with that concern, that you just talked about using social media to tell their story, but maybe they don't think they have something worth telling?
That happens all the time. And this might be super, I don't know, beaten to death, but one of the best examples is, do you watch Yellowstone? And people go, yes. And it's like, well, all these people who live in a city and they're driving a commute and they're going in their car and they're driving for an hour, they're sitting in a cubicle, they're doing their stuff, they're getting back in a car and driving home. Your life as a rancher is so exciting to them that it may not be exciting to you because you do it every single day. But someone who lives in a high rise and goes to work, the thought of having a baby calf by the fire in the kitchen because it was born in a snowbank, they love that and they eat it up. So it may not be interesting to you, but I can guarantee your story as a rancher is 1,000 times more interesting than someone who works in an office.
Right. So when you guys quit to go farm cattle, did you have this sellbeefdirect.com in your head too? Or
no, never.
Did that come out of like, hey, we should probably do this because we had to go through this?
Yeah. Yes. So, we quit I should go back even more. We knew we wanted to do this to sell direct to consumer. And this was what we wanted to do for our family. So back in 2017, we released equity in our little 6 acres because the property was booming, to purchase this ranch that I'm at now. And it was like, we need to make a go of this. So it's either go or stop complaining about life. So we're going to do it. So we released equity. We moved here with our 23 head, and we had cattle finance to build the herd. Everything was going really well. We carried 2 mortgages for a while. The property market took a crash. And we chased it down. So then our little 6 acres actually cost us money to sell, we didn't get anything from it. And the bank was like, you now owe way more than we're comfortable with, then what you have now doesn't cover it. And we're going to cut our losses and foreclose. And it was like, what? Like, can they do that? Is that even legal? Apparently it is. But because we're a farm and farms are treated differently, it takes 12 months to foreclose on a farm. You can't just foreclose in 3. So then that 12 months, it was like, this has to work. So we were buying.
That's not a lot of time with a beef herd.
No, it's not. So we were growing our herd, and we also had, we were working with some friends and things at the coast who traditionally, they grew speckled parks, which is a Canadian breed. And they were unfinished, if you like, and then they would take them to the sales barn. So they ended up finishing them for us. We'd buy them from them instead of them taking them to auction. And then we would process them and sell as beef. So it worked like, I don't know, 50% gross, to the point where we had an order book. We were doing 2 a month and then 3 a month. And then we had orders for 5 a month, up to 10 a month. And it got to the point where we went over our local representative's head, who was just being a pain in the ass, and went to the head office in Saskatchewan and said, look, for the last 11 months, even with our hands tied because you're foreclosing on us, I have an order book of 8 months ahead and I'm bringing in $50,000 a month regularly selling beef. What's happening? And they actually said, we apologize, and they halted proceedings and they reinstated the mortgage. Like it was just insane. So it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. But within that time, obviously Google, I was searching for, how to sell beef online and help with selling online. And the companies I came across, they talked an amazing game. And I was like, yes, you can save my ranch. You can save me. And then I get hit with how much it was going to cost. And it was like, yeah, no, there's no way I can give you $18,000, $20,000 when all this is happening. So it was, do it myself. Like, we're pretty smart, and we put together a solution that really did work. And a lot of that was starting an Instagram account. That was literally the turning point. But then after all of this happened and everything is hunky-dory, and we would post about our story, and we would post, we're first-gen ranchers, blah, blah, blah. I would get messages and direct messages from farms all over the States going, how do you do it? Like, how do you do what you do? Like, how did you do this? To the point where I kind of joke and say I was handing out my phone number like candy, and I would have 2-hour long phone calls with someone in Oregon and someone in Ohio and someone in Montana, to the point where I said to my husband, maybe I should do something with this. And this was in 2022, like November 2022. I was like, I should do something with this. Like, we could help so many farmers do this and it be affordable. Like, it's not going to cost $18,000. And that's when Sell Beef Direct was born. So we launched in January 2023. And It's changed a lot since then, but sure. It's doing pretty well.
Sure. So now, are you selling only quarters and halves and wholes, or do you sell individual cuts?
We don't sell individual cuts. And I actually warn my students, like the farmers I work with, I mean, if that's something they really want to do, fine. But it's hard work because it's inventory. Like, you would have to itemize every single item in a carcass and upload it to a website and then find that item and ship it, and it's too much like hard work. So we sell quarter size and whole, and our ranch, we do packs. So we have a 10 pounds of ground, and we have, a steak pack or a steak and ground pack, but we don't sell you can't just go online and order a steak.
Yep.
It doesn't work for us.
Are you ready to power through your harvest? Meet the Maya corn heads. They're designed for maximum efficiency and unmatched durability in the toughest of conditions.
With precision engineering and advanced features, Maya corn heads ensures every kernel counts, giving you the performance and reliability that you need. Get more from your harvest with equipment built to last.
Reach out to your local Maya corn heads dealer or visit mayacornheads.com to find your perfect match today. Maya corn heads, harvest with confidence.
And then is this successful for you because you're close to a big city, or are you selling? Is that not a requirement for someone that wants to start to have to be tied to a big metropolis?
So something that I kind of speak about a lot on my social media is we are pretty remote, and our neighbors and our local area are not our customers, because everyone has an uncle who has a steer and gives them a side for Christmas, or they have a couple of acres and they take, a couple of yearlings a year to finish, and they keep one and sell one. So my local area is not my customer base. So we actually drive 5 hours away to deliver our beef.
So you're physically delivering it? yourself?
My husband does, yeah. That's just what works for us. But we go once a month. Yeah.
We have several friends now that are going direct to consumer, and I feel like they are doing more of the smaller packs. I don't know if they would sell you a single cut, like you said, but I do know they are. I mean, shoot, we got a corporate box from our friends at Barn Talk.
I've just always thought those are interesting because, like you said, there's so many cuts of the calf, or if you're doing hogs or anything, what do you do with the rest? If they're not all highly desirable, you got to throw some roasts in there and some ground beef.
Well, isn't the biggest burden the ground beef, right? Half the roughly is ground beef. You got to get rid of it.
Half is, but no. So for us, our most popular item is a quarter cow. We sell more of them than anything else. Our next most popular item is 10 pounds of ground. We can't keep ground in. Yeah, people love it because it's so versatile. Burgers, chili, pasta, lasagna, meatballs. What's for dinner? Like kids love. We can't keep ground in. It goes out so fast.
Sounds like you need Dr. Price.
My father-in-law sells direct to consumer. He started doing that. We were cow-calf for a while, and he'd sell genetics. And then he realized that instead of selling the bull for genetics, he'd get whatever $3,000 a head. He's like, well, I could cut its head off and sell it as meat and steer it, and then end up feeding it out, make more money doing that, and get $5,000 worth of meat out of it instead. And in a shorter window, and he would start doing that. But when he would do it, a lot of people didn't realize how much the packer cost to have them process, or the processor, not the packer, but the processor to process the meat. And so some people would sell it as hanging weight. Some people would sell it as just the meat. So there's bone in or bone out weight, and then some would sell it as carcass weight. With skin, without skin, et cetera, et cetera. And so explaining that to the consumer, what he always tried to explain to him was, here's the price of what you're going to pay at the grocery store for hamburger. Here's the price of what you're going to sell for steak. I'll just split the difference. Instead of paying $15 for a steak and $3 for hamburger, I'm going to sell it all to you at $7. And he just split it all, and he just split it in the middle. But I don't know if there's a right way to do it, but that was his
based on was that based on hanging, or was that based on yield? His
he
price
did it
straight
on
down
yield.
the middle.
He did it on yield.
So we a lot of what I teach is you have to train your customer. So all through your website and your social media, you're not selling beef. You're educating and telling people things that they don't know what they don't know. So we always do hanging weight, and it's never hindered us, but we do explain it that you have this forum that you have to get them to the point of comparing apples for apples. And I actually have a student, he did an exercise and he priced out his carcass if you were to buy all those cuts at Walmart. So not like Trader Joe's or a butcher, but Walmart. And his carcass from him, if you bought a whole cow, would be like $5,000. Whereas, and that was hanging weight, like $8 a pound hanging weights. If you then, he priced it all out, that carcass at Walmart was $6,800.
Yeah.
But people don't know that. People think I'm spending $8 a pound hanging weight. That's way too expensive. And it makes my heart hurt when farmers are literally charging $3.50 or $4 per pound hanging. I'm like, I can't raise a cattle for that. Like, it doesn't work. So, but even at $8, if you actually do the homework and like find your comparisons, it's cheaper.
That's just shows you the cost that people are willing to pay for convenience if they're willing to go to Walmart and buy it for that much more.
Yeah,
absolutely. So what is the biggest challenges that people face when they are looking at, obviously they're Googling or they're paying attention to the materials that you put out in your social media. What are you helping them most overcome when they work with you?
The two biggest, not complaint. Well, I guess there are the two biggest issues farmers have when they come to me is how to find customers. They're like, I have this amazing product. Everyone who buys it says it's fantastic, but I can't find new customers or more customers. The other one is pricing. So we go over those a lot, but finding customers is, you have to know who your customer is first too, that you can't just keep on advertising or saying, I have beef for sale, because that's not going to appeal to people. Whereas if you post, I don't know, save money on groceries, you're going to get every mom within like a whatever mile radius going, oh, save money on groceries. And then when they delve into that more, they'll realize that you're funneling them into buying a quart of beef. So you're not saying buy my beef and people go, I've just been to Costco, I'm done, keep scrolling. But that big hook or that big kind of reason is save money on groceries or drop 10 pounds, which is a huge one because everyone wants to drop 10 pounds, but it's, drop 10 pounds, prioritize protein, buy a quart of beef. But you're funneling them into your world by giving them answers to what they want.
I can just see the headline, drop 10 pounds of beef in your freezer.
Yeah. Well, yeah, whatever works. Yeah. But yeah, it's,
But that makes sense. If you just put it into perspective, we can start thinking about who's buying this. So it could be probably know where your food comes from would be a hanger. And like you said, lowering the cost of your groceries. If you want to eat healthier, whatever it ends up being.
Is the know where your food from, is that the biggest thing driving this? Do you think, the demand?
That's one character trait, if that makes sense, that we teach that you have to appeal to like 5 or 6 character traits. And one of them is know where your food comes from. But then one of my best customers for our ranch, I hooked him in with, it was, did you know red meat has more creatine than a supplement? And I was targeting carnivores and gym goers. And he was like, oh, really? And then he went through all that material and ended up calling me and buying a side of beef. And he buys a side of beef every 2 months. And then he told all his friends at the gym. And I think we sell 6 sides of beef every 2 months just because of that post about creatine and red meat. Yeah.
What do you think your average age is of your buyer?
It's 43. Yeah.
She knew that pretty quick.
It's as old as day.
I check my diagnostics. So we have people who are like in their 20s, and we also have people in their 60s and 70s that buy our beef.
I got a couple rapid fires.
Sure.
I'm
nervous.
Nah, it's not that big of a deal. What if they don't want to? They understand they want to grow beef. They want to sell direct to the consumer. They understand they need to be on socials, but they just don't. They want to focus on the raising the beef. Like, can someone run their socials for them and still sell directly?
Yeah, they can. We do that for some customers. It's not something we like doing, but we do teach how to run your socials. But a lot of these farmers, they hand that over to their wife or to their kids, or there are social media companies who will do it for you, but you still have to train them in, this is selling beef. This isn't just selling pictures of a ranch kind of thing. Like, there is a knack. Like, you really do have to answer that pain point. Because if you then want to speed things up and say, I don't want to be on social media all the time, and I would rather run ads, like I would rather spend $10 a day running ads to these landing pages, you still have to test that in social media. So if your content isn't appealing to a warm audience, it's not going to appeal to a paid audience either. And that's when you start wasting money. Whereas if you know your message is converting for free, then at that point you take those best posts and you can run ads, and you're going to save money and get a much higher return on investment.
Okay. And the next one is, let's say I just want to get into cattle. Maybe I have a few cattle and I want to get into this, but I want to start maybe using you to help. What's the best process? Where should I start?
As in, you want to contact me to help you? Or...
I want you to help me sell my beef direct to consumers. I've sold a couple beef to some friends, or maybe I'm just thinking about buying some. What's the best place to start?
I'm not sure if you want me just to answer the question, or if you wanted me to start a pitch.
Sure.
Like,
Well, I want to know. I want to know your pitch. We're to that point. We've learned enough about it. Like, okay, I'm intrigued. Where should I start?
So, our first step is, I mean, regardless of how much it is, it's still a bigger investment. So it's almost like a value ladder. So the first thing you would do is, look at some of the free materials. We have a free workshop that goes every month that literally shows people how to do this and what steps they need. And it's free. There's a free masterclass that kind of teaches them how to use social media. And we have a free Facebook group where they can ask us lots of different questions, because money is important. And being a farmer myself, I know there's not always a lot of disposable income. So before you make that investment, I would check out all those free resources first. And then we have like an entry level course, which is only $47, but it's going to really kickstart your marketing. It's going to tell you how to post on social media, what to post, who to target, how to use social media, how to use emails, how to set everything up, all the way up to I will design your website for you. So there's like entry level up to the full everything. And there's one in the middle as well.
Is that 47 Canadian or USD?
US is pretty much a universal currency for digital products, because if it's in my home currency, I almost have to pay a conversion rate twice.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Interesting. And the other cool thing that we have to offer our audience is we're affiliate partner of yours. It's an opportunity for our audience to benefit greatly from us finding partners out there that can, in this case, maybe potentially contribute a significant amount to their bottom line as we look forward to potential tighter margins and tighter years.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking forward to that.
As we look forward to those. Yes. We're not looking back. It may not look good. We're still looking forward. Okay.
I just did it. I haven't posted it yet, but I was scheduling a reel for my social media, and it was kind of all about contingency and our ranch. So this hat had a bit of a tough year this year. My husband almost lost his hand in a post pounding incident, and that kind of because we do everything ourselves, we have no staff. That's really slowed things down for 2 or 3 months while he was recovering. And then we were just getting back to delivering beef and catching up when he just dropped off 10 heads at the processors and the stock trailer got rear-ended. So on first look, it didn't look that bad, but it actually got written off. And then we had no stock trailer to take cattle to. And it was a big fight with ICBC, which is we only have one insurance company in BC, and trying to get them to pay out is impossible. So then we just got, this was in like October. We just got that fixed. And we're like, right, we have to catch up. We have all these orders. We have to get beef in. The butcher dropped us. The butcher was having staffing issues and they weren't getting stuff cut right. And they just shut down to regroup. And we're like, but we're booked in until February. Like, what are we meant to do now? So then we found another processor at the coast, which is a 10-hour round trip. And he's going to start this month. So it's from July till now, it's been, one thing after another. But by having this in place and taking pre-orders and people can purchase in advance, having all of that in place meant that we didn't take a big nosedive. Like everything did kind of keep on ticking over. Which is good.
What is that link, Tanner? Do we have that?
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay.
Absolutely. So it's easy to get to as far as that goes. And I appreciate you sharing that, Amy, because every farm goes through times like that at different levels. Sometimes it's bad days. Sometimes it's bad years.
Yeah.
But if we can have a mindset of looking forward,
or just turn the bad situation into a good situation.
There you go.
You could have upcharged for that load of beef because it was extra tenderized.
Yes.
Naturally tenderized by road rage.
I mean, it's almost like a comedy sketch. The poor guy who rear-ended, he was a senior and he was volunteering at the senior center and to paint their, I don't know, something. So inside his Ford F-150, he had a 5-gallon drum of white emulsion. And when he hit the stock trailer, so he completely wrote off the front of his truck, but the inside of it was just white paint. It was like, oh my God, the poor guy, he was devastated. Funny, but not funny.
Oh, it is funny. Yeah, that's about as funny as it gets.
As long as no one got hurt.
Yeah, no one got hurt. No one got hurt. And the trailer was empty, but yeah, it completely twisted the chassis.
So if our listeners want to follow along with you on social medias and continue to watch what your content you put out, how best do they look you up?
It's at Sell Beef Direct.
There you go. Pretty
simple.
Straightforward and simple.
Sell
Facebook
beef
and
or
Instagram.
chicken or pork or whatever,
Yeah. We have lots. So we have beef, but we also have chicken, goat, lamb, bison. We have a yak farmer. I have an author who has written some farming books and he's using it for that. And I also have a farmer who is, they're more a homesteader, but they import coffee beans and they have a local roastery and they sell and roast coffee. So, I mean, it works regardless of what your product is.
I think I just added yak to my food bucket list. Yak, have a yak.
Yak.
Yeah.
My pig suppliers roast their own coffee beans and they give
give
that away for Christmas, and it is dang good.
It's so good. It's all I drink now is her coffee.
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, Amy, we thank you for taking the time to share this with our audience. Hopefully a couple of them you can provide value to directly as well. But besides that, it was entertaining. It was fun for me.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Game on.
I'm looking forward to some yak.
That's right.
Yeah.
And listeners, until next time, have a good one.